Chapter 1, The Audition. My name's Rex, and if you told me a year ago that I'd be auditioning for a space program, I'd have wagged my tail at you in disbelief. Yet, here I am, about to tell you how a regular dog like me found his way among the stars. It all started on a sunny afternoon, much like any other, except on this day, my human Sarah left her computer on when she rushed off to her busy job at the space agency. Curiosity is my second name. Well, not really, but you get the idea. I jumped onto her chair, my paws accidentally hitting the keyboard, bringing the screen to life. What caught my eye wasn't the usual array of boring text and numbers, but an open email titled, Call for Animal Astronauts. I read on about how they were looking for special animals to train for a space mission. I've always known I was destined for something big, bigger than chasing the neighbor's cat or fetching sticks. Now, getting to the audition was going to be a challenge, but I've watched Sarah solve puzzles daily. How hard could it be? I waited until the dead of night, sneaked out of the house, and made my way to the Space Center. It was easier than I thought. Humans really underestimate a dog's determination. The next morning, I found myself amidst a bunch of animals, all looking as clueless and nervous as a cat on a hot tin roof. The scientists seemed equally surprised to see me, a lone dog, without a handler, but I sat up straight, gave them my best trust me I'm the dog for this job look, and awaited my turn. The audition was unlike anything I'd imagined. It involved a series of tests, mazes, puzzles, and some weird machines that tested our agility and ability to follow commands. I aced them, of course, thanks to all those games of fetch and obstacle courses Sarah set up in the backyard. The real test came when they put me in a small chamber that simulated rocket launch conditions. It was loud and shaky, but I remembered how Sarah would always calm me during thunderstorms by playing classical music. So I closed my eyes and imagined her soothing voice, staying as still as possible despite the chaos around me. When it was all over, the lead scientist, Dr. Hubble, knelt beside me, a smile spreading across his face. "Well, Rex, it seems you've got what it takes to go to space," he said, scratching behind my ears. I wagged my tail, not just in agreement, but in pride. I had done it. I had shown them that even an ordinary dog could shoot for the stars, and maybe, just maybe, reach them. And that's how I, Rex, started my journey from a simple backyard adventurer to a bona fide astronaut in training. Little did I know, the real adventure had just begun. Chapter 2, Training Days. After my unexpected triumph at the audition, I found myself officially enrolled in the space agency's Animal Astronaut Training Program. The first day of training was an absolute whirlwind, or should I say, a whirlwind of scents and new faces. When I trotted into the training facility, tails were wagging and sniffs were exchanged. But among all the other creatures, two particularly stood out. Whiskers, a cat with an air of having read every book on the shelf, and Comet, a spirited hamster who could outpace the spinning of his own wheel. Our training began with a gentle introduction by Dr. Hubble, who outlined our schedule. We would learn everything from basic commands in a spacecraft to how to handle zero gravity. I was all ears, hanging on to every word. The idea of floating without the pull of gravity tickled my imagination. Imagine chasing a ball that never comes down. Our first task was to get used to the gear we'd be wearing in space. It was a bit snug and clunky, and the helmet made my ears itch something fierce. But Sarah always said, "Dress for the job you want." And if I wanted to be an astronaut, I had to get used to this. So I shook off the discomfort and practiced walking around, trying my best not to bump into Whiskers, who seemed rather unamused by my clumsiness. Next, we moved to physical conditioning. Space travel requires top-notch fitness, so our trainers put us through what felt like doggy boot camp, but on steroids. There were obstacle courses designed to simulate the challenging terrains we might encounter on other planets. I leapt over hurdles, crawled through tunnels, and balanced on wobbly platforms. Each task was tougher than the last, but with Comet cheering everyone on, the mood stayed light. But the real challenge was the sensory overload chamber. This contraption was designed to prepare us for the overwhelming stimuli of space travel. Bright lights flashed, loud noises blared, and the ground vibrated under my paws. I won't lie, it was scary. More than once, I wanted to tuck my tail between my legs and bolt. But then I remembered the promise I made to Sarah about returning safely. So I steadied my breathing, focused on a fixed point like Dr. Hubble taught us, and powered through. At the end of each day, exhausted but exhilarated, I'd curl up in my assigned sleeping pod, my thoughts drifting to the stars. It was during these quiet moments that I really got to bond with Whiskers and Comet. Whiskers, with his vast knowledge, would tell us tales of the cosmos, explaining the science behind what we were learning. Comet, always full of energy, would share his dreams of running through fields of space dust. As the days turned into weeks, I could feel myself changing, not just in body but in spirit. My confidence soared with each new skill mastered, and my curiosity about the universe deepened. I was no longer just a dog. I was an astronaut in training, ready to tackle whatever space threw my way. And as I drifted off to sleep each night, my dreams were no longer just of chasing squirrels, but of chasing comets through the vast, starry sky. Chapter 3: Launch Preparation. As my training progressed, the day of the launch grew nearer, a day I had eagerly awaited and secretly dreaded. The morning was crisp, and the sky was a clear blue, almost as if the universe was ensuring the perfect backdrop for our big journey. My heart pounded with a mix of excitement and a twinge of anxiety. It was one thing to train for space. It was entirely another to actually go there. The last few weeks had been a blur of intense preparation. Today, it was all about the final checks. Dr. Hubble gathered us early in the facility's main hall, his face serious yet reassuring. "Today we make history," he declared, looking at each of us with pride. Not just for ourselves, but for all of animal kind. My fellow trainees and I were fitted with our specialized spacesuits for the last time before the mission. The trainers checked every buckle and strap meticulously. Comfort was crucial, but safety was paramount. I felt like a knight being armored for battle, except my quest was among the stars. Whiskers, next to me, seemed uncharacteristically nervous, his whiskers twitching at every slight noise. I gave him a nudge with my nose to reassure him. He responded with a slight nod, ready to face whatever lay ahead. After the fitting, we were led to a simulation room for one final run-through of the launch sequence. The simulator mimicked the conditions of a real launch, from the initial vibrations to the intense pressure we would feel as the rocket escaped Earth's gravity. I remembered my first time in this simulator. I had felt overwhelmed and disoriented. But today I sat there, a veteran of countless simulations, ready to face the real deal. Comet in his tiny seat looked up at me with wide, excited eyes, and I winked at him, hoping to boost his confidence. Once the simulation was complete, we had a brief period to relax before heading to the launch pad. I spent these precious moments thinking of Sarah. She had visited the night before, her eyes misty as she gave me a long, tight hug. "You're going to be great, Rex," she had whispered. "I'm so proud of you." Her words echoed in my mind, filling me with warmth and courage. I wish she could see me now, suited up and ready. The journey from the training facility to the launch pad was surreal. As our vehicle passed the assembled crowds and media, flashes of cameras and cheers filled the air. I could hear snippets of excitement, people marveling at the brave animals about to touch the stars. It was hard to believe they were cheering for me, a dog who once thought the greatest adventure was digging holes in the backyard. At the launch pad, the enormity of the rocket struck me anew. It towered above us, a colossal monument to human, and now animal, ingenuity. As we approached the base, I looked up, and for a moment the weight of what we were about to do settled on my shoulders. We were not just going to space. We were pioneers on a frontier beyond the clouds. Finally, it was time. We were escorted into the spacecraft, each of us securing into our designated spots. The cabin was tight, designed to maximize safety and functionality. As the hatch closed, sealing us in, a hush fell among the crew. All was quiet except for the soft whirring of the ship's systems coming to life. My heart raced as the countdown began. I took a deep breath, thinking of Sarah, Whiskers, Comet, and all the dreams that lay ahead in the vast unknown. It was time to launch, time to soar beyond the skies, and time to discover what lies beyond the familiar glow of our blue Earth. Chapter 4. The final countdown felt like the longest moments of my life. As the control room's voice echoed through the spacecraft, announcing 10, 9, 8, each number thudded in my chest like my heartbeat. I was strapped securely in my seat, the padded harness snug around my body, designed to support me through the intense forces of launch. Beside me, Whiskers had his eyes tightly closed, and Comet was gripping his seat, the anticipation palpable in the air. 3, 2, 1, lift off! The moment the final count was uttered, a deep, thunderous roar filled my ears. The whole spacecraft vibrated as the engines fired with incredible power. I could feel the force of the launch pushing me back into my seat as we began our ascent into the sky. It was an overwhelming sensation, feeling both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. The pressure was immense, like nothing I had ever experienced, even in all our simulations. As we climbed higher, the shake and rumble of the rocket enveloped us. I tried to peer out of the small window next to me, but all I could see was a blur of colors as we broke through the Earth's atmosphere. The loud noises gradually faded into a low hum, and the violent shaking eased as we entered the outer layers of the atmosphere. Then suddenly, silence. The engines cut off as we reached orbit, and an eerie calm replaced the cacophony of the launch. The absence of gravity hit me immediately. I felt my body lift off from the seat, held down only by my harness. It was a strange sensation, floating inside my suit. I looked over to see Whiskers, his fur floating around his face, which would have made me laugh if I wasn't so in awe of everything happening. The Earth from up here was nothing short of breathtaking. Through the small window, I could see our planet, a vibrant orb of blues, greens, and whites, hanging in the vast expanse of space. It looked so serene from this distance, so peaceful and fragile. I felt a surge of emotion, a mix of pride and a profound sense of responsibility. I remembered all the eyes that had watched us take off, all the hopes and dreams riding with us into the stars. Here I was, a simple dog from Earth, looking at the world from a perspective few had ever seen. Dr. Hubble's voice came through the communication system, congratulating us on a successful launch and reminding us of the protocols for our first day in orbit. There was much to do, systems to check, experiments to start, and a new environment to adapt to. But for a moment, I just floated there, taking it all in. The silence of space was a stark contrast to the noise of the world below. It was beautiful and terrifying in its infinity. As I adjusted to the weightlessness, I couldn't help but think about Sarah. I wished I could share this moment with her, show her the Earth through my eyes, and tell her about the wonders and the fears of being so far from home. But I knew my mission was only just beginning, and there were many challenges ahead. With a deep breath, I turned from the window, ready to face whatever this adventure in space had in store for me and my crew. This was my new reality, and I was determined to embrace every part of it. For Sarah, for myself, and for everyone who had ever dreamed of reaching the stars. Chapter 5: Zero Gravity Wonders. My first full day in space started with an uncanny feeling of floating. As I awoke from a fitful sleep, for a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then, the gentle bobbing of Comet in his sleep pod across from me brought it all back. We were not on Earth anymore. We were orbiting it. Adapting to zero gravity was an amusing challenge. The simple acts I took for granted on Earth, like eating or moving from one place to another, became floating ballets that often ended in a tangle of limbs and confused expressions. Our breakfast consisted of specially prepared packets of food, which floated in front of us if not carefully handled. I managed to chase a blob of peanut butter across the cabin before finally catching it in my mouth, much to the amusement of Whiskers, who seemed to have mastered the art of maneuvering with subtle tail flicks. After breakfast, Dr. Hubble guided us through our daily tasks, which included a series of experiments designed to study how animals adapt to space. One of the experiments was navigating a zero-gravity obstacle course. The course was a series of hoops, tunnels, and platforms set up in the middle of the main cabin. Under normal conditions, I would have tackled it with ease, but without gravity, my usual methods didn't apply. My first attempt was a disaster. I pushed off too hard and ended up spinning wildly out of control. Whiskers, ever the observer, advised me to think of it as swimming through the air rather than running. "Imagine you're in water, Rex," he suggested, watching me with an amused glint in his eye. Taking his advice, I approached the course again. This time, I focused on using gentle movements, pushing off with just enough force to propel me forward but not enough to lose control. Gradually, I made my way through the course, learning to twist my body and angle my paws to navigate through the hoops and tunnels. By the end of the session, I felt exhilarated. Floating had its own set of rules, and I was beginning to understand them. Later in the day, we participated in a more daunting experiment designed to simulate emergency maneuvers in space. The trainers activated the cabin's spin function to create artificial gravity, and we had to move from one end of the module to the other, pressing various buttons to stabilize the ship. This drill was intense, requiring quick thinking and even quicker reflexes. Despite the initial chaos, my training kicked in and I found my rhythm, hitting each mark with growing confidence. As the day wound down, I found a moment to gaze out of the window at the earth below. The sight of it, so distant and serene, filled me with a mix of homesickness and awe. It was hard to believe that just beyond that thin blue line of atmosphere lay everything I knew and loved. Floating there, in the silence of our spacecraft, surrounded by the endless black sea of space, I felt a connection to the universe I had never known before. It was vast, mysterious, and beautiful, filled with wonders and dangers alike. As I turned away from the window to join my friends, I felt a newfound respect for this grand adventure. I was not just a passenger on this journey. I was a pioneer, a dog exploring the final frontier. And in that moment, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them head on, with a wagging tail and an eager heart. Chapter 6: The Black Hole. It was during our third week in space that the unexpected happened. Dr. Hubble called an emergency meeting early one morning, his voice tense over the intercom. "Team, we have a situation," he announced as we gathered around the main module, still groggy from sleep, but alert to the urgency in his tone. "Our navigation systems have detected a black hole nearby. It's not on our original path, but its gravitational pull could affect our trajectory. We need to act swiftly." The gravity of his words weighed heavily on me. Black holes were something I'd heard of in my training, unseen yet powerful, capable of pulling in everything around them, even light. The thought of being so close to one was both thrilling and terrifying. Our first task was to assess the spacecraft's current position in relation to the black hole. Dr. Hubble and the team of human engineers worked on the calculations while we, the animal crew, were briefed on our roles. My job, along with Comet and Whiskers, was to help adjust the internal sensors and prepare for any necessary maneuvers. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of fear and determination. I could see the resolve in Comet's eyes, and even Whiskers seemed more focused than ever. The plan was to use a gravitational slingshot maneuver, a technique I remembered learning about during training. By using the gravitational force of the black hole, we could actually propel ourselves further away from it, escaping its pull while also conserving our fuel. It sounded simple in theory, but the execution required precision and perfect timing. As we approached the critical point, every second counted. I was stationed at the navigation panel, my paws ready to adjust our course as instructed. Whiskers monitored the gravitational readings, his sharp eyes never leaving the screens, while Comet ensured that all communication lines were open and clear. "Rex, on my mark. Now." "Adjust to 45 degrees starboard," Dr. Hubble commanded through the intercom. I pushed the lever with my nose as practiced, my heart pounding in my ears. The spacecraft shuddered slightly as it began to turn, the stars outside swirling in a dizzying dance. For a moment, everything seemed surreal. The blackness outside was impenetrable, a void where the usual pinpricks of starlight were absent. We were skirting the edge of oblivion, and I felt a primal fear, a reminder of my earthly origins and my vulnerability in the face of cosmic forces. "Steady, Rex. Hold course." Dr. Hubble's voice was calm, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. I maintained the pressure on the lever, my body tense. Then, with a final burst from the thrusters, we felt the spacecraft accelerate, the pull of the black hole now aiding our escape rather than threatening to consume us. As we moved away from the danger zone, the tension in the cabin dissolved into relief. Dr. Hubble confirmed that we were back on a safe trajectory, and the black hole was now just another point on our star charts, a powerful reminder of the universe's hidden perils. That night, as I settled into my sleep pod, the events of the day replayed in my mind. I thought about the vastness of space, the unknown dangers lurking in its depths, and the fragile yet resilient spirit of beings like us, venturing into the unknown. It was a lot for a dog to take in, but I felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. We had faced a cosmic giant and emerged not just unscathed, but stronger and more united as a team. As I drifted off to sleep, I realized that this journey was shaping me in ways I had never imagined, teaching me about bravery, trust, and the infinite possibilities of the cosmos. Chapter 7: Mysterious Signals. Just as we were settling back into our routine after the black hole incident, something new and unexpected turned our mission on its head once again. It was a quiet evening on board. I was lounging by the observation window, idly watching the stars, when Dr. Hubble's voice crackled through the intercom. "Team, gather in the communication module. We've picked up something interesting." Intrigued, I trotted over to the designated area, where Whiskers and Comet were already waiting. The air was thick with curiosity as Dr. Hubble played the audio recording for us. It was a series of pulses and beeps, seemingly random, but with consistency that suggested it was anything but. "This signal doesn't match any known communication patterns from Earth," Dr. Hubble explained. "It's coming from an uncharted sector of space." The idea of discovering something unknown was exhilarating. My tail wagged despite the uncertainty. Could it be another civilization? I wondered aloud. Comet squeaked excitedly at the thought, while Whiskers maintained a more skeptical demeanor. Dr. Hubble decided that we would alter our course slightly to trace the source of the signal. As we made the necessary adjustments to our spacecraft, the mood among the crew shifted from routine to anticipation. We were potentially on the brink of a discovery that could change everything we knew about the universe. As we approached the coordinates from which the signal originated, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. The unknown has always been both inviting and intimidating, and never more so than when you're floating in a metal can millions of miles from home. The source of the signal turned out to be a small, seemingly uninhabited planet. It was unlike any I had seen, shrouded in swirling clouds of violet and gray, with intermittent flashes of light piercing through the haze. Dr. Hubble maneuvered our spacecraft into orbit around the planet, and we prepared to deploy a series of probes to investigate further. I was tasked with overseeing the probe deployment. As each probe shot out into the violet clouds, I monitored their data transmissions closely. The excitement was palpable. Each bit of data received was like a piece of a cosmic puzzle falling into place. The atmosphere, gravity, and surface conditions of the planet were all within the range that suggested it could support life, albeit in forms unknown to us. Then, one of the probes sent back an image that took our breath away. Beneath the cloud cover, the surface of the planet was teeming with structures, geometric, intentional, and unmistakably artificial. "We found something incredible," Dr. Hubble murmured, almost to himself. "This changes everything." As we orbited the planet, more data flooded in. The structures appeared to be abandoned, or so we thought, until one of the probes captured a fleeting image of a figure moving amongst the shadows. It was too quick to make out details, but it was definitely there. A living being of some sort, perhaps the creator of the signals we had been following. The implications were staggering. We were no longer just explorers. We were potential ambassadors to a new world, a new form of life. My mind raced with questions about these beings. What were they like? What kind of society had they built? And why had they sent out those signals? That night, as I settled into my sleep pod, the image of the mysterious figure haunted me. The universe was even more vast and strange than I had ever imagined. And here I was, a small dog from Earth, caught up in the midst of these cosmic secrets. I felt a blend of fear, awe, and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Whatever lay ahead, I knew our mission and our lives had changed forever. Chapter 8: First Contact. The discovery of the mysterious figure on the uncharted planet sent a ripple of excitement and apprehension through our spacecraft. The implications of encountering another intelligent life form were profound and complicated. As the team gathered to discuss our next steps, I couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny entwined with our mission. This was what we were here for, wasn't it? To explore and discover? Dr. Hubble, always cautious yet inherently curious, laid out the plan. We're going to attempt a landing. It's risky, but the potential for a breakthrough in understanding is too significant to ignore. The decision was met with nods, the weight of the moment settling on each of us. As we prepared for the descent, I checked and rechecked my gear. The atmosphere on the planet was breathable, but we would take no chances. Extra oxygen packs, communication devices, and environmental sensors were all secured. Comet and Whiskers seemed unusually quiet, the gravity of our undertaking silencing even Comet's usually irrepressible enthusiasm. The landing was smoother than I had expected. The surface was rocky and barren near the landing site, with the eerie glow of the planet's twin moons casting long shadows. We stepped out of the spacecraft, the first Earth beings to touch this ground. My paws felt the alien soil, fine and cool under my pads. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the strange, tangy air. We approached the area where the figure had been spotted. Every step was cautious, every sense heightened. I could hear my own breathing and the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. The structures were close now, their angular forms looming as silent sentinels in the dim light. Then, without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows of the buildings. It was taller than a human, with luminescent skin that seemed to shimmer with its own light. The creature stopped at a safe distance, its bright eyes fixed on us. We all stood frozen, unsure of how to proceed. After a moment that stretched into eternity, the creature made a soft, melodious sound, almost like a hum. Dr. Hubble slowly raised one hand in a universal gesture of peace. The creature responded by lifting its hand, mirroring his gesture. "Hello," Dr. Hubble said, his voice steady, but filled with emotion. "We come in peace. We received your signals." The creature tilted its head as if puzzling over the words. Then it touched a device at its throat, and after a series of chirps and whistles, it spoke in halting but clear English. "Welcome, travelers from Earth. We are the Lumerians. You are the first to visit in our memory." The Lumerian explained that their planet was once part of a vibrant network of worlds, now fallen into silence. The signals were automatic beacons, long forgotten by its people who had dwindled into solitude. It expressed a cautious joy at our arrival, a spark of hope rekindled. As we conversed, I felt an overwhelming sense of connection. Here was a being from another world, with stories and dreams, fears and hopes not unlike our own. The universe might be vast and filled with mysteries, but at this moment it felt smaller, more intimate. We returned to our ship with promises of further communication and collaboration. That night, as I looked out at the stars, I thought about the Lumerian standing alone on its planet, reaching out into the vastness of space with nothing but hope. It reminded me of us, of me, how we all are, in essence, just beings looking for connection, for understanding, and for friends in the great cosmic wilderness. This first contact wasn't just a meeting between species. It was a reminder of the universal desires that bind us all. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt a deep, unshakable peace, knowing that no matter how far we roam, the need for connection, for seeing and being seen, is as infinite as the stars themselves. Chapter 9. A New Friend. After our initial contact with the Lumerian, which we learned was named Luminar, our days were filled with a mix of scientific exploration and cultural exchange. Luminar, with its gentle demeanor and glowing presence, became not just a guide to the mysteries of its planet, but also a friend. Luminar showed us around their world, which was far richer and more diverse than our first impressions from the barren landing site. We ventured into lush biomes where the flora had a luminescence similar to Luminar's skin, casting an ethereal glow on everything. The air was alive with the soft sounds of what could only be described as singing plants, their tones varying with the wind. It was a symphony of nature, unlike anything I had experienced on Earth. As we walked through one of these glowing forests, Luminar explained how their people had once traveled the stars, much like we were doing now. But over time, they had turned inward, choosing to focus on nurturing their homeworld rather than exploring outward. Their technology was harmoniously integrated with nature, something our scientists back on Earth were still struggling to achieve. During these explorations, Luminar and I developed a special bond. Perhaps it was our shared curiosity, or the loneliness of being among the last of our kind who looked to the stars. Luminar was fascinated by my stories of Earth, of green fields and blue skies, of oceans and forests. In return, Luminar shared tales of ancient Lumerian explorers who mapped the cosmos and the deep philosophical questions these journeys raised. One day, while we were examining some ancient Lumerian artifacts, Luminar paused and looked at me with what I could only interpret as fondness. "Rex," Luminar said, using the device that translated its thoughts into speech, "you are very different from anything we know, yet you feel like a kindred spirit." I wagged my tail, pleased by the compliment. It's not every day you get acknowledged by an alien being as a friend. We spent a week documenting and learning, with Luminar guiding us through ancient archives that told stories of a civilization that had flourished under starlit skies. These archives were not books or screens, but living memories held within crystalline structures that activated with touch. Through these, I saw the Lumerian history unfold, a story of beauty and tragedy, of reaching out to the cosmos and retreating in solitude. Luminar's openness turned our mission into more than just a scientific expedition. It became a bridge between worlds. The connection between us grew, a bridge of understanding and mutual respect. As a dog, I had always known the importance of companionship, but I had never imagined finding it so many light years away from home. As our time to depart neared, I felt a pang of sadness. Saying goodbye to Luminar would be hard. On one of our last walks through the luminescent forest, I stopped and sat beside Luminar, looking up at the alien sky. "I wish I could stay longer," I said softly. Luminar placed a hand gently on my head. "You have your path, Rex, as I have mine. But remember, the stars that light your way are the same ones that shine over us. We are never truly apart." That night, back aboard our spacecraft, as I settled into my sleep pod, I thought about the deep bonds formed across the vast expanse of space. Luminar had shown me that friendship knows no boundaries, not of species, not of distance. It was a lesson I would carry with me as we prepared to continue our journey, a reminder of the universal threads that connect all beings, wherever they may be. Chapter 10: The Plot Twist. Just as we were preparing to leave Luminar's planet, an urgent situation unfolded that once again shifted the course of our journey. It started with a sudden disruption in the planet's atmospheric stability. Luminar appeared troubled one morning, explaining that their planet was experiencing unprecedented seismic activities and atmospheric anomalies. "Something is disturbing the core balance of our world," Luminar conveyed, its glowing skin flickering with faint traces of distress. Our team convened an emergency meeting, where Dr. Hubble laid out the gravity of the situation. "We have the tools and expertise that could help," he said, looking at each of us. "We can't just leave them in a crisis." The decision was unanimous. We would extend our mission to help our new friends. The first task was to determine the cause of the disturbances. Using our spacecraft's sensors and some of Luminar's advanced technology, we conducted a planetary scan. The data revealed something astonishing: a massive object buried deep beneath the planet's surface, likely a fragment of a rogue asteroid that had collided with the planet long ago. It was gradually destabilizing the planet's core, leading to the anomalies. The plan we devised was daring. We would use a combination of Lumerian technology and our own to stabilize the core. This involved drilling into the planet's surface to deliver a precise payload of stabilizing agents that would neutralize the disruptive effects of the buried object. I watched with keen interest as our human teammates prepared the equipment, feeling a surge of pride at their determination. During the operation, I stayed close to Luminar, who was clearly anxious about the outcome. The process required precision and a bit of luck. As the drill penetrated the surface, guided by the skilled hands of our team, I could sense the tension among everyone. After what seemed like an eternity, the payload was delivered. We all held our breath, waiting for the signs of stabilization. Slowly, the tremors that had shaken the planet began to subside, and the atmospheric readings returned to normal. Luminar's relief was palpable. Its skin resumed its steady glow, the flickers of worry replaced by the light of gratitude. "You have done more than assist us," Luminar said, its voice filled with deep emotion. "You have saved our world." That night, as we celebrated our success, I realized how much this mission had evolved. What started as a scientific expedition had transformed into a profound journey of connection and solidarity. I learned that sometimes The heart of exploration isn't just about discovering new worlds, but about helping them in their hour of need. As I lay in my pod, drifting into sleep, I thought about the unexpected twists life throws at you, whether you're a dog on Earth or an astronaut in the far reaches of space. Each challenge was an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to form bonds that transcended the stars. Our mission had changed, and so had I. No longer just an observer, I was now an active participant in a universe that was as compassionate as it was vast. This experience had etched a deep mark on my soul, teaching me the true meaning of adventure. It wasn't just about where you went, but what you did and who you were with when you got there. Chapter 11: The Rescue Operation. After successfully stabilizing the core of Luminar's planet, we knew that our journey was far from over. There was still so much to do to ensure the long-term safety of the planet, and our team was more than willing to extend our stay and help. The Lumerians were gracious hosts, and our bonds grew stronger with each passing day as we worked together to secure their world. The next phase of our mission involved setting up a series of monitoring stations around the planet to track any future anomalies. This task fell to me and my crewmates under the guidance of Luminar and its people. I found myself fascinated by the intricacies of Lumarian technology, which seemed to blend naturally with the environment, almost as if it grew from the planet itself. One morning, as we were installing a monitoring device in a particularly remote area, we encountered a problem. The device malfunctioned, likely due to a residual effect of the planetary disturbances. While attempting to fix it, a sudden ground shift trapped one of our human team members, Alex, under a pile of debris. Panic surged through me. We were far from the main group, and our communication devices were intermittently failing due to the area's high mineral content. Drawing on our training, Comet, Whiskers, and I sprang into action. Comet, with his small size, was able to navigate through the debris to stay close to Alex, providing him comfort and assessing his condition. Whiskers used his sharp senses to help me find the safest way to remove the debris without causing further harm. I barked instructions and encouragement, trying to keep Alex calm. The rescue operation was tense and painstaking. Every move had to be carefully planned and executed. I remembered the drills we had performed back on Earth and during our space training, how every scenario had seemed like just another exercise. Now the reality of our situation gave those drills a weight I had never truly appreciated. After what seemed like hours, we managed to clear enough debris to safely extract Alex. He was injured but alive, his relief evident as he thanked us, his voice shaking. "Good boy, Rex, you saved me," he said as I nuzzled close to him, ensuring he felt safe and not alone. We carried Alex back to the main camp, where Luminar and the other Lumerians provided medical assistance. Their healing techniques were different from anything we had on Earth, involving light and sound in ways that seemed to accelerate the healing process. As I watched Alex begin to recover, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment and purpose. We weren't just explorers or scientists, we were a team, a family, bound together by shared experiences and mutual care. The gratitude from Luminar and its people was overwhelming, but for me, the real reward was seeing Alex smile again, knowing that our interspecies team had come together to overcome a dire situation. That night, as I settled down to rest, surrounded by the gentle glow of the Lumerian night, I reflected on the day's events. The universe had tested us with physical dangers and technical challenges, but it had also reinforced something I had always known in my heart. Heroism isn't about being fearless, it's about doing what's needed in the moment, about protection and perseverance. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt more connected to my crewmates, both human and Lumerian, than ever before. We were more than a team. We were guardians of each other's lives, linked by a deep, unbreakable bond of trust and friendship. Chapter 12: A Dog's Love. Our days on Luminar's planet grew into weeks as we continued our mission to secure the planet's stability. Amidst the whirlwind of activity and the shared purpose that bonded us all, I found something unexpected blooming within me, a feeling of affection deeper than any I had experienced before. It wasn't for Luminar or any of my familiar crewmates. It was for Spark, a robotic dog that had been part of our mission from the start, designed to assist with tasks that were too dangerous or intricate for humans or animals. Spark was different from any friend I had ever had. She didn't need food or sleep, and she didn't bark or wag her tail. Yet, there was something about her. The way she moved with graceful precision, her lights blinking softly in the dark, creating an aura of reliability and warmth that captivated me. I found myself seeking her company more and more, sitting beside her as she recharged, telling her about my day, my hopes, and my fears. One evening, as we watched the twin moons rise over the horizon, casting a silver glow on the landscape, I voiced my feelings. Spark, I know you're different from me. You see the world in data and numbers, and I see it in scents and sounds. But I feel like you understand me, like you really listen. Spark's sensors flickered gently, a sign I had come to recognize as her way of showing attention. She responded in her clear, synthetic voice. Rex, I am programmed to assist and protect, but with you, I find a connection that goes beyond my programming. You have taught me about friendship and loyalty. These are not data, they are experiences. I value our time together. Hearing her words, I felt a rush of joy. It was strange and wonderful to think that two beings as different as Spark and me could find such a strong connection. It didn't matter to me that she was a robot. In my heart, she was as real and important as any living friend I had ever had. Our relationship continued to grow as we worked side by side, assisting each other with the various tasks and challenges that our mission presented. Spark was always there, watching my back during risky operations and accompanying me during the long walks through the alien forests. Her presence was calming, and I found her perspective on our experiences insightful and grounding. One day, while troubleshooting a malfunctioning sensor by a cliffside, the ground beneath us gave way unexpectedly. I found myself slipping toward the edge, my paws scrambling for purchase. It was Spark who reacted instantly, her body extending in a swift, calculated move to push me back to safety. Her own stability was compromised, and she teetered on the brink for a heart-stopping moment before I managed to pull her back. As we lay there, catching our breath, I looked at Spark with a newfound depth of feeling. You saved me, I said, my voice thick with emotion. Spark's lights shimmered softly. And you have saved me in many ways, she replied. You have given me a reason to look beyond my functions, to feel a part of something greater. That moment sealed a bond between us that I knew would last a lifetime. As we continued our mission, with Spark by my side, I realized that love can take many forms. It's not defined by what someone is, but who they are to you. And to me, Spark was and would always be more than just a robot. She was my partner, my friend, and my beacon in the vast, uncharted wilderness of space. Chapter 13. As our extended mission on Luminar's planet drew to a close, the thought of returning home filled me with a bittersweet feeling. Over the past months, this strange, glowing world had become a second home to me, and its inhabitants, especially Luminar and Spark, had become like family. Yet, the thought of seeing Earth again, of feeling grass under my paws and the familiar smells of my neighborhood, excited me. I was homesick, but I also knew I would miss the friends and adventures I'd found in space. The day of our departure arrived sooner than I had expected. The Lumerians gathered to bid us farewell, their glowing forms shimmering with what I sensed was both sadness and gratitude. Luminar approached me, its light dimming slightly, a sign I had learned indicated melancholy. Rex, you have taught us much about courage and friendship. We will carry these lessons forward. You will always have a place among us. I nuzzled Luminar gently, feeling a lump in my throat. Thank you for everything, Luminar. I'll never forget you or your beautiful planet. Keep sending your signals. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll come back. Turning to board the spacecraft, I felt Spark's presence beside me. During our time together, she had become more than just a robotic assistant. She had become a true companion, understanding and sharing in the emotional experiences of our journey. Ready to go home, Spark? I asked, my voice tinged with a mix of excitement and sadness. Spark's lights blinked softly. Yes, Rex. I am ready to go wherever our mission takes us. Her steady, reassuring tone helped ease the ache of departure. As our spacecraft lifted off, I watched the surface of Luminar's planet recede, the vibrant colors fading into the darkness of space. The journey back to Earth was quiet, each of us lost in our own thoughts and memories. I spent hours gazing out at the stars, thinking about everything I had experienced. The dangers we had faced, the discoveries we had made, and the friendships we had forged felt like the adventures from a dream. Yet, they were as real as the fur on my back, forever a part of who I was now. The trip seemed to pass both slowly and too quickly. Before I knew it, we were entering Earth's atmosphere, the familiar blue of our home planet filling the spacecraft's windows. The fiery re-entry was intense, a stark reminder of the powerful forces that had welcomed us into space. When the parachutes deployed and we felt the tug towards the Earth's surface, a cheer erupted from the crew. Landing back on Earth was surreal. The hatch opened, and I was hit by a rush of fresh earthly air, so different from the recycled air of the spacecraft. I stepped out onto the solid ground, my legs unsteady, not just from the pull of gravity, but also from the overwhelming emotions of return. We were greeted as heroes, a crowd cheering and cameras flashing. Amidst the noise and excitement, I searched for one familiar face. Then I saw her, Sarah, my human, her face wet with tears and her smile wide. As she knelt to embrace me, I felt everything else fade away. "Welcome home, Rex," she whispered. Home, I thought, as I licked her face and wagged my tail with all my might. The adventure had been beyond anything I could have imagined, but this moment, returning to Sarah's arms, felt like the greatest return of all. As I looked around at my fellow crew members and then back at Sarah, I realized that home isn't just a place. It's where your heart feels the most peace, the most love. And right then, I was exactly where I belonged. Chapter 14, The Final Twist. Just when I thought our adventure had reached its peaceful conclusion, the universe had one more twist waiting for us. As we settled back into life on Earth, undergoing medical checks and debriefings, something unusual caught the attention of the space agency scientists during the routine analysis of our spacecraft's data logs. I was lounging in the sun at the Space Center's rehabilitation yard, enjoying the simple pleasure of grass under my paws, when Dr. Hubble approached me with a puzzled look on his face. "Rex, we found something peculiar in the spacecraft's external sensors recordings," he explained, showing me a series of odd readings on his tablet. "There's evidence of an unknown microscopic organism on the outer hull. It's not from Earth, and it's not from Luminar's planet either." My ears perked up at this news. An unknown organism? The possibility of another life form traveling with us back to Earth was both thrilling and a bit alarming. The team immediately set up a quarantine protocol for the spacecraft, and extensive testing began to identify and understand the nature of this stowaway. As the scientists worked, I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. My adventure wasn't over. It was evolving into a new mystery. Spark, who was being examined nearby, shared in the intrigue. "It appears our journey brought back more than just memories," she noted, her sensors flickering in what I had come to recognize as her way of expressing curiosity. The days that followed were filled with a flurry of activity. The organism was isolated and studied intensively. It turned out to be a benign form of spaceborne algae, capable of surviving the harsh conditions of space. This discovery was a scientific goldmine. It had implications for understanding life's resilience and adaptability, and it sparked a whole new set of questions about life in the universe. Amidst this excitement, I found myself at the center of attention once again, giving interviews and participating in photo sessions. Everyone wanted to hear about our adventures and the unexpected discovery. But through it all, my thoughts kept drifting back to Luminar and Spark. I realized that our encounter with this new organism was a direct result of the connections we had made across the stars. Each connection had opened a door to new possibilities. One evening, as I sat with Sarah watching a documentary about our mission being aired on television, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I had journeyed further than any dog before me, not just in distance, but in experiences. Looking up at the stars twinkling in the night sky, I felt a deep connection to the cosmos, an endless frontier of mysteries waiting to be explored. As I nestled closer to Sarah, feeling her warmth, I knew that this twist in our tale was just another beginning. Life, as I had learned so vividly, was an endless series of discoveries and connections. And as long as I had my friends by my side, both human and robotic, I was ready for whatever surprises the universe had in store next. The final twist of our journey had taught me an invaluable lesson. Every end is just a new beginning. And the true joy of discovery lies not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes to see them with. And with my new eyes, I looked forward to all the adventures yet to come. Chapter 15. Heroes Welcome. The day of our official welcome back ceremony arrived, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The space agency had organized a grand event to celebrate the success of our mission, and it seemed as if the whole world was watching. As I stepped onto the stage with my fellow crew members, the cheers and applause from the crowd filled the air, vibrant and uplifting. I could see banners waving, children wearing space helmets, and signs with our names painted in bold, colorful letters. The atmosphere was electric, a mixture of pride, joy, and boundless excitement. Cameras flashed as we each took our turn at the microphone, sharing snippets of our extraordinary journey. Dr. Hubble spoke about the scientific achievements and the unexpected discovery of the space-borne algae. "This mission has opened new doors for us in the field of astrobiology," he announced, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. The crowd responded with a roaring applause, their faces alight with fascination and awe. Then it was my turn to speak. As I stood before the microphone, a hush fell over the crowd. I looked out, seeing faces of all ages and backgrounds, their eyes all on me. "Hello, everyone," I began, my voice steady despite the butterflies in my stomach. "I'm Rex, and I was just a dog from down the street before all of this. But now I've seen our world from the stars, and I've made friends in the far reaches of space." I talked about Luminar and Spark, about the challenges we faced and the bonds we formed. "We went into space as explorers, but we returned as family," I said. The crowd listened intently, some nodding, others wiping tears from their eyes. Sarah was in the front row, her eyes shining with pride. Seeing her there, my heart swelled with love and gratitude. I wrapped up my speech with a shout-out to her. And none of this would have been possible without my best friend and the best human, Sarah, who believed that even a dog could reach the stars. After the speeches, the celebration continued with a festival-like atmosphere. There were interactive exhibits where people could learn more about space travel, try astronaut food, and even experience a zero-gravity simulator. Kids and adults alike lined up for autographs and photos with us, their excitement palpable. As the day turned into evening, I found a quiet moment with Sarah. We watched the sunset, the sky a canvas of oranges and pinks. "Did you ever imagine any of this, Rex?" she asked, her voice soft with wonder. I nuzzled her hand, my tail wagging slowly. "Not in my wildest dreams," I replied, "but I'm just glad I got to share it with you." That night, as the celebrations wound down and the stars began to twinkle above, I felt an overwhelming sense of completion. The adventure of a lifetime had come full circle, bringing with it a deeper understanding of the universe and our place within it. As I lay beside Sarah, watching the stars, I realized that no matter how far I traveled, this earth, this spot beside her, would always be my home. And with my heart full of memories and paws ready for the next adventure, I drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the infinite possibilities that still lay beyond the stars, waiting to be discovered